What will never not be funny? The reporter laughing at the pig named Chris P. Bacon. Most contagious laugh ever. https u2.be/pma3x-bc8im https u2.be/pma3x-bc8im Yard Sard. You cheated? When I specifically asked you not to. The leprechaun in Alabama news segment from like 20 years ago. Was waiting for the bus with a friend to go to a party back when I was a teen. Had a beer while waiting an OFC a police car drive by and then stop. We both quickly throw the beers in a trash can while the police car turn and come towards us. The officer rolls down the window and we prepare to get warning or fined. But instead he asks us if we have seen a cow. Apparently there was a cow on the loose somewhere in the city. Granted, I am terrible at telling stories. But it was and still is funny 15 to 20 years later. Animals seeing their reflection into a mirror and not recognizing it. What is a sure sign that someone is new to your hobby? They buy a fish bowl. Brand new guy asking a bunch of addicted gamers, "Hey, should I buy this $100 pack?" Underbaking bread because they're afraid to burn it. It won't burn that fast. Just leave it in the oven. I have these 3 electronic components I need to hook to power. What electronic component do I use to connect them to the same power supply? Why do my plants always die in a few weeks? I water them every day. Exclamation mark. Quote. They think I'm good at it. What is a completely rational sentence you could speak today? That if you said 20 years ago, people would think you were insane? I store my contacts in the cloud. Hey. Sorry, the call quality is bad. I had to take the call on my watch because I'm watching a movie on my phone. Uber is when you give a stranger your location over the internet so you can get in their car. Officer, where do they sell weed around here? I spend 11 hours a day scrolling through my phone. The 2020 Olympics will be in 2021. At this time, what is your view of Joe Biden? Of all the presidents we've ever had, Biden is certainly one of them. I hate that everything with politics is definitely either this or that. If you don't like Biden, then you must love Trump and vice versa. As if the concept of middle ground didn't exist. European countries have 6, 10, 12 different political parties running in a given election. I refuse to be tricked into a false dichotomy. I just wish we had better options. Or a better system. Or both. I feel exactly the same about Joe Biden as I do about Pride Month bank logos. I'm sure the replies are going to be an absolutely civil discussion. I just wish America had better options. Exantivaxxers of Reddit. What made you change your mind? My wife yelled at me. Honestly, when I was about 25 years, 10 plus years ago, I was on the fence about vaccines. In general, one of my old relatives, she was over 90, passed away and I was going through her things. One was a series of postcards she wrote to her uncle as a girl. She kept trying to get her uncle to come visit her baby brother. She was so excited to have a little brother as she only had sisters. Then in next few postcards the baby is sick. Then he is really sick. Baby brother has whooping cough. He dies. Seeing the grief and sadness play through a series of postcards damn near 100 years ago, from a child's perspective, impacted me in a way I could have never predicted. Getting out of the mommy forum echo chamber. When I was a new mom, I found myself being very lonely. Home all day with this tiny human and no one else to talk to. and was quickly being disabused of the idea that I knew how raising a child works, relatively normal new mom stuff. So I did what I normally do when I don't feel I know what I'm doing. I turned to the internet and started reading articles and joining forums for moms to get ideas, tips and pointers from more experienced moms. I learned a lot from them, and am grateful for it. Being low income, I learned all about modern cloth diapers and started doing that for my daughter. Started using cloth pads for myself. They taught me things about circumcision that I'd never heard before. Not that it was ever relevant. I have 2 girls. But it was still eye-opening. Learned about several different techniques on how and when to introduce solids into baby's diet. Learned so much more about car seat safety than the one prenatal class 1 got before baby was born. Even learned some household budgeting tricks that helped us out. But there was an undercurrent in this very natural, crunchy, mom group of delayed vaxxing and anti-vax. There was a couple of moms who claimed their children were harmed by vaccines, and had a lot of links to show how vaccine injuries are underreported, etc. By that point, my first child had most of her vaccines with no reaction but a mild fever with one of them. So I only pushed off her varicella vaccine until she was older. But I then delayed most of the vaccines for my youngest, with the idea that if I waited to get them and spaced them out more, she'd be older and more able to tell me if something was wrong. Because if these ladies could be so right about so many other things, how could they be so wrong about vaccines? As my youngest got older, that group more or less imploded due to infighting between different factions. And while some did reform elsewhere, it was mostly for moms of babies and toddlers, and my kids were too old. So I drifted away from them and started seeing all of the anti-vax hate. It took me a while to even entertain looking into the arguments. No one enjoys finding out they're wrong. But I finally did look, and yeah, I was wrong. Fortunately, nothing bad came of it. But still, I fell victim to groupthink. And it could have ended badly. Studying microbiology currently, and this was in my last lecture on the topic of vaccines. In 1736 I lost one of my sons, a fine boy of 4 years old, by the smallpox taken in the common way. I long regretted bitterly and still regret that I had not given it to him by inoculation. This I mention for the sake of the parents who omit that operation, on the supposition that they should never forgive themselves if a child died under it. My example showing that the regret may be the same either way, and that, therefore, the safer should be chosen. This is embarrassing, but in 2016 I fell into the homeopathic, vegan, organic everything rabbit hole. Was pregnant with my first, was terrified the shots may hurt him. Then I watched a PBS documentary on vaccines and changed my mind. I look back horrified for even considering not vaccinating him. When I would see reports of the vaccine doing damage, I decided to do my own research. Kept seeing headlines of the vaccine giving you blood clots and realized it has a 0.0006% chance of doing that. I began to get skeptical of all these headlines I was seeing and realized the numbers were extremely low. Out of 6 million people, one person would get a bad side effect and it would be all over news along with millions of people reposting it. Called up my friend who goes to medical school and she explained to me how the vaccine was created. Quickly. The benefits of it, etc., etc. I cringe at the fact that I was anti-vaccine and I'm able to see through a lot of misinformation without even trying. Realized it's so easy to manipulate people and TikTok promotes so much misinformation for COVID. It's crazy. You can report it all you want, the moderators are extremely anti-vax and they have the most conspiracy theories on mask and COVID on that damn app. In school, what were you famous for? My role was the famous, "He went to school with us?" My full name is 22 letters long. More often than not, my name would decide the width of the name column in every class one was in, and therefore stood out quite a bit. I only wish it was not a boys-only school. Getting knocked on my head before school one day and having a seizure. It was before they opened the doors, so everyone outside saw what happened, and then the ambulance came and I was awake, but I was blacked out, and my friends told me I tried to fight the paramedics off. I don't remember anything from hitting my head to coming to in the ambulance with some type of amnesia. I didn't know who I was or where I was, and I was strapped down, so this made me panic even more, and I think I tried to spit on the paramedics, so they covered my face with the oxygen mask, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't turned on. I couldn't breathe. It was one of the scariest moments of my life, and it still kind of haunts me to this day. When I woke up, they didn't try to tell me what happened. They didn't say shit to me to try and calm me down. They just kept telling me to be quiet and calm down. How the fuck can I calm down when I am strapped down and don't know what the hell is going on? Anyways, I was the seizure kid. In grade school one day I pretended I was from the future. For shits and giggles. But then over time it kinda turned into a thing. Eventually it got to the point where it would do more harm than good to admit I was not from the future. I don't recall how it happened. I just remember wishing people would stop asking me if I was from the future because I didn't want to talk about that anymore. Not much different from Potato Guy in retrospect. My nickname. My name is Adam. My parents were happy because they named my brothers and I with impossible names to shorten into nicknames. But in my case they were wrong. I grew up in the 1980s, and you will no doubt understand why that's relevant when you hear what the other kids decided to call me. They shortened my name, Adam, into AIDS. My nickname for 40 years has been AIDS. For looking tired and high all the time. I've never done drugs in my life. LMAO. Edit. I don't know if I should be amused or offended that me looking high all the time is so highly upvoted. Haha.
Subscribe, my brothers.